Could be fun.
But for you. All right.
All right, picture a year where you're looking forward to an NFL season and it doesn't happen due to head injuries. Today I would like to emphasize for you the danger of concussions in the NFL today, because they've been coming around way more often. They become a big part of the game because of the sheer size and speed of the game and the complexity of how plays are run and defenses. There's probably been a game you've watched where there was a huge hit and either one of them gets knocked out or both of them due to a concussion, or they're just knocked out completely. I'd like to explain the dangers of concussions during games and after they retire to players, technology of helmets and rules, and how much the NFL is looking into that. And lastly, if concussions will be the end of the NFL due to the lawsuits that former players are now filing against the NFL. Dangers of concussions. First of all, I'd start off there. For leading and retired players who experience them, concussions have been a big issue in the past years and have been gaining a lot of ground in study from the NFL and scientists. Many people believe that concussions are just a brain bruise, but it's more complex than that. From an article by Jim Davis, explains that a general concussion is from the rapid movement of the head and then is suddenly stopped. Violently shaking of the head causes the receptors, some of the receptors in the brain, to deaden, and this causes problems in learning and memory problems. Once a player sustains a concussion, he is more likely to sustain another one. So the first one receives a hard hit. The second one, it doesn't need that much of a blow to get a concussion. In the same article, he says that 60% of 1,090 former players suffered a concussion and had problems with memory, concentration, headaches, and other neurological problems. The players recalling 3 or more have had problems with depression, and now a recent study the past couple of years has been found by the NFL that Alzheimer's disease or similar memory-related diseases have appeared dramatically for retired players. Furthermore, now that the NFL is getting some trouble with with lawsuits and that kind of stuff, they have to implicate new rules and stuff like that. And they don't want the amount of concussions that they're having, or even a death occurring on the field from these hard hits. Now they're trying to apply. Now scientists are stepping in as well to create better protective gear. The new rules that went in this past season, as you can tell with all the 15-yard penalties and fines and that kind of stuff, that a player should not be allowed to helmet-to-helmet hits or launch off the ground completely. The new rules also prohibit a player that gets a concussion can't come back to the game as frequently as he did in the past. Just because it's easy for a player to hinder or keep the symptoms down and not tell his trainer. And I've done that once before, so that wasn't really good. Because you want to get back to the field, and that's love the game. Along the same lines with helmets, on Harrison right here, he got fined $250K for this hit on Braylon Edwards, and he was out for 2 games. And so they're cracking down as much as it. And he's one of the most, he's the one that has this more frequently than others. So he's been having to change the way he plays the game. The new protection that technology in helmets is growing bigger than ever. The NFL never looked into helmets until the past couple of years. There was a study done by Virginia Tech that 40% of the NFL players were using one of the most unsafe helmets, which here in bold is the Rideau VSR4. And what this chart tells you is the rating, the lower it is, the better. So 0.5 means there would be a 50% chance one would receive a concussion using that helmet over the course of the season. So the helmets they were using, they almost had an 80% chance of having one concussion throughout the year. Rideau is was the only one to have helmets in the NFL. Now they're moving towards shut, and shut has their two helmets, the Ion 4D and the DNA, 35%, and only 30% of the players are now using shut compared to the 70% using Rydell. But Rydell has gotten better helmets over the past couple years. The Rydell VSR4 has just been discontinued, not this year, the year before that. So no one can use those helmets anymore due to the lack of safety they provide. They're very complex helmets, as you can see. They're very padded nowadays by the way they're bracketed to the side of the helmets and that kind of, and to absorb the hit rather on all sides of the helmet rather than just in the front of the face mask. They're also in Virginia Tech. They're applying sensors to the back of the head and to the temples that records data from every hit they take. As you can see at the bottom, he plugs it into a component in the helmet and it feeds all the data through the computer. And if they take a hit above the threshold of a concussion, then they look for symptoms and get them out of the game quicker. Technology has not yet been passed, but the NFL is certainly pushing towards it because of all the lawsuits, and they need to get the game safer than what it was before. Many people are now pondering with the question if the NFL will ever end due to this, due to the concussion era and the lawsuits filed by former players. The question has popped up recently. I've been hearing commentators talk about it, and I never thought it would be ever like that, but the fantasy is real that it could happen. The main problem of the lawsuits, says Tyler Cowan in his article, explains that the league did not protect them from the risks associated from concussions. These players have developed mental or physical problems from concussions, and as of this year, 12 more players from Louisiana are the latest to accuse the league of failing to protect them. Also from an article from an Associated Press says the lawsuit extends the fact that the NFL ignored players' risk for years despite overwhelming medical evidence that on-field concussions led directly to brain injuries and frequently tragic repercussions of the injuries. The former players might be the NFL's downfall in the end if more players keep coming out to file lawsuits against them. The main deal is these guys are coming out to protect themselves, their family, and the rest of the football players in the league. To close, I would like to say the dangers and the fantasy of the end of the NFL is real and could happen. Dangers of concussions are affecting the players and former ones to this day, but now the league and others who are supporting are making forward to try and find ways to limit them. Hence, making new improvements on helmets, protecting players from helmet-to-helmet collisions, contact with rules and fines, threatening the end of the sport is creating this sense for the NFL to act. To end, I would like to quote Dr. Ann McKee, who has studied the brains of football players who recently passed away. The connection is clear, and we should call for immediate changes to the game and concussion treatment, or links will still be found with head trauma and later cognitive degeneration. Thank you.
Stephanie, what did you think?
So I thought his topic was a good topic, and he definitely had a good attention grabber. I mean, because most of us at least watched the NFL, I would believe. He made it clear what he was going to talk about. It was good. He was very calm. He didn't rush at all. He seemed really interested in the topic because he played. And at times he did get just a tad bit lost. I mean, it seemed like it. But other than that, he did really well. And he had a lot of good sources. He explained it pretty well. And I thought he had good transitions. The pictures in the slide did help on what exactly he was talking about, so that was good. And the only thing I would say that needs to slightly change is the hands in the pockets. Kind of got me a little distracted for a while. But yeah, that's about it.
I'm glad.